From a third woman hated by the public, Camilla has step by step entered the heart of the British throne, becoming the official queen beside King Charles III in a transformation painted with forgiveness, acceptance, and no shortage of political maneuvering. She was once the symbol of a forbidden love, seen as the reason behind the breakdown of Prince Charles and Princess Diana's marriage. But over the years, through quiet persistence and a deft ability to remain hidden, Camilla gradually regained her position, ultimately sitting in a place many believe should have belonged to Diana, the throne of a queen. And yet, just as the royal spotlight seemed to have fully illuminated her complicated past, a shocking discovery suddenly erupted. Not at the palace, not during a formal ceremony, but right at Mill House, Camilla's private residence in Wiltshire, a place she had always kept for herself, separate from the royal family, where she returned after royal duties, where there were no rituals or rules, and where, as it turns out, a secret had been kept that was utterly unacceptable for someone bearing the title of queen. Initial leaks were scarce, but enough to ignite a wave of suspicion. An item, a piece of evidence, or some relic had been found, something capable of severely damaging Camilla's honor and position within the royal family. Buckingham Palace immediately responded in its usual fashion: cover-ups, denials, and refusals to comment. But this time the wall of silence wasn't thick enough to keep the truth from leaking. Insiders spoke of a late-night cleanup operation, of key individuals being temporarily isolated, and of media suppression at a level not seen since Diana's death. So what exactly was discovered in that seemingly harmless estate? A sign of betrayal? A letter? An item that once belonged to Diana, one that should never have been there? Or was it something even more terrifying, capable of shaking the very throne that Camilla had only just officially ascended? Because one must understand, Mill House is not merely a personal property. It is where Camilla preserved a private life away from the palace lights. It was here she discreetly welcomed Charles during the years when they were still lovers. It was here she retained a part of her old self, the woman who once walked on the margins, who was once rejected by an entire nation, and who lived under the enormous shadow of Diana. And now this very place has unveiled an entirely new chapter, one of suspicion, unresolved guilt, and perhaps consequences. Could the secret at Mill House be a whisper from the past, forcing the royal family to confront what they've tried to bury for nearly 3 decades? And if so, can Camilla's reign, as the most controversial queen in modern British history, survive the tremor that's beginning to spread? Nestled in the idyllic countryside of Wiltshire, far from the lights and bustle of London, Mill House carries the image of peace, at least on the surface. Camilla purchased the house in '95, shortly after her divorce from her first husband, Andrew Parker Bowles. It was a time when the public had turned their backs on her, blaming her for ruining the happiness of Prince Charles and Princess Diana. And Mill House, quite literally, became a refuge, a fortress for absolute privacy where Camilla could escape the scrutiny and simply be herself. Not a grand castle, nor a classically aristocratic mansion, Mill House possesses a subtle and discreet beauty. With 6 bedrooms, an outdoor pool, stables, and expansive gardens, it offers just enough luxury. Not ostentatious, but comfortably suited for someone who had long lived within the upper class. Those who have stepped beyond its gates often remark that the house reflects Camilla's personality clearly: practical, modest, and somewhat reserved. Even after officially becoming a member of the royal family and moving into Clarence House with Prince Charles, Camilla never sold Mill House. On the contrary, she maintained it as a sacred personal space, a retreat for when royal protocols, ceremonies, and pressures became too much. Even after ascending as queen, Camilla continued to visit. Notably, following Queen Elizabeth II's funeral in 2022, while the royal family faced intense scrutiny from the media and public, Camilla chose to retreat to Mill House for several days. Insiders said it was a time when she needed to be alone, free from judgment, away from the gaze of cameras. Mill House, therefore, is not simply a house. It is a symbol of Camilla's private world, where past and present intersect in silence, a place where she lives as a woman who once endured pain, was once hated, yet still tried to stand up and live life her own way. In some sense, Ray Mill preserves all the things Buckingham Palace could never publicly accept. Secret phone calls, private letters, unofficial meetings. It is an in-between space bridging two worlds, the old world of Camilla Parker Bowles and the royal world of Queen Camilla. That is why the discovery of a shocking revelation at Ray Mill House has made everything infinitely more serious. Because this place is not under palace control, has no 24/7 royal security detail, and certainly no strict rules like within the royal estate. If something were to be hidden, stored away, or kept secret for many years, then Ray Mill is the ideal place to do it. And now that silence has been broken. That private space has been breached. And the secret, if it truly is the one Camilla has tried to protect for nearly 3 decades, is no longer safe. From a peaceful refuge, Ray Mill House has now become a crime scene, a critical piece in the controversial story of a queen who emerged from a scandal, ascended the throne under suspicion, and may now be stepping into an inescapable spiral. The inspection at Ray Mill House was initially just a routine activity, part of the general security protocol established since Camilla became queen. Although Ray Mill is not an official royal property, it is frequently visited by a figure at the head of the monarchy, and thus was included in the list of locations requiring semi-regular monitoring to ensure her safety, both in terms of physical security and public image. According to an insider within the security network, this inspection was carried out by a mixed team, part from the royal family's private security force, and the rest consisting of external experts appointed by Buckingham Palace under the label of a security risk assessment. The official purpose of the inspection was to review the security systems, including surveillance cameras, anti-theft doors, and internal communication systems, in response to rising threats from the media, hackers, and anti-monarchy groups. Everything appeared to be proceeding according to protocol, as with previous inspections. Security personnel familiar with the Ray Mill House grounds suspected nothing until one member of the third-party team, a technician specializing in signal testing and physical security systems, discovered an unusual detail in the old basement area. A small door hidden behind a bookshelf, which did not appear in the architectural blueprint provided by Camilla. At first, the technician assumed it was just a forgotten storage space. But when the door was open, what lay behind it brought the entire team to a halt. And at that very moment, the inspection escalated to a completely different level. A temporary lockdown order was issued internally. The peaceful facade of Ray Mill House had been torn apart. What was meant to be a routine image and safety protection check for the Queen suddenly turned into an unofficial excavation, and its results, as many fear, may fracture not only the walls of Ray Mill, but also the fragile image of Queen Camilla. When the small door hidden behind the basement bookshelf was gently opened, no one in the inspection team suspected they were about to face a discovery that could shake the very foundations of British royal power. The space behind that door was only a few square meters wide, its walls lined with old bricks and showing no signs of frequent use. Yet in the center of that cold room, sitting atop a dusty, dark wooden box, were 3 objects that brought the entire team to a breathless silence. The box was secured with an old iron latch, with no signs of modern security like an electronic lock or sensors. It seemed almost forgotten or deliberately hidden. Someone clearly did not want it found. One of the staff requested senior authorization before proceeding, and once permission was granted to open the box, they discovered inside a neatly folded letter, beside it an antique ring of familiar design, and a small knife, carefully wrapped in a piece of black velvet cloth. The first thing that rendered everyone speechless was the letter. The surface of the paper was yellowed with age, yet the handwriting remained clear. The lines were soft, consistent, yet full of emotion, immediately causing one of the royal security officers, who had once helped protect Princess Diana, to freeze. He affirmed it was unmistakably Diana's handwriting, the Princess of Wales herself. The letter bore no clear date, no sender or recipient, but the opening line was chilling. "If one day I am no longer here, find this place." The young technician held the letter with trembling hands. No one dared draw conclusions right away. But a security specialist quietly photographed the letter and sent it to a handwriting analysis department in London for verification. Meanwhile, attention shifted to the other two objects, the ring and the knife. The ring was set with a deep blue sapphire, surrounded by small diamonds, instantly reminiscent of the famous engagement ring Prince Charles gave Diana in 1981. However, the sapphire on this ring was smaller, the setting featuring antiquated detailing, and inside was an inscribed, hard-to-read Latin phrase, like a mysterious code. One hypothesis suggested it was a Spencer family heirloom, Diana's lineage, or even an undisclosed personal keepsake known only to Diana's closest confidants. But the third object sent shivers down every spine. A small knife, its handle made of aged ivory and the blade tarnished silver. It wasn't overtly lethal, but clearly not decorative. What shocked everyone was its preservation. Carefully wrapped in a black velvet cloth, treated more like evidence than a keepsake. Beside the knife lay a tiny note reading just 3 words in French, La vérité tue, meaning the truth kills. At this point, no one considered it a routine inspection anymore. Everything was packed, sealed, and transferred under strict supervision. Although no official conclusion had been reached, rumors began murmuring through the cold corridors of Buckingham Palace. A letter alleged to be from Diana, a mysterious sapphire ring, and a knife with a deadly message. These 3 objects did not just raise questions about an unresolved past. They struck at the image Camilla had spent over 2 decades building. Why did these items appear in Camilla's residence, the woman once deemed an interloper in Diana's marriage? That remains a major unresolved question. Who placed them there? Was it Camilla or someone else? And could they be evidence hidden since the tragic 1997 accident? Or perhaps a final message Diana left in secret, unknown to anyone until now? Mill House is no longer private. It has become the scene of mysteries and fear, and as officials scramble to contain the information, one unmistakable truth emerges. Secrets thought buried for nearly 3 decades may be resurfacing, and this time they will not be so easily buried again. Immediately after the 3 unusual objects were discovered at Mill House, Buckingham Palace activated a series of urgent measures to control all information. A senior communications advisory team was convened overnight. Personnel involved in the inspection were required to sign absolute confidentiality agreements, and all documentation and images of the letter, ring, and knife were designated top secret and stored at an undisclosed location. Even an internal directive was issued from the King's private office, instructing all royal spokespeople to not comment on any content related to Mill House. The national media was given special attention. Several journalists who happened to be in the Wiltshire area at the time suddenly had their press credentials revoked, while major newspapers like The Times, Daily Mail, and BBC were reminded to maintain caution with groundless rumors. At first glance, these measures seemed effective. During the first 48 hours, it appeared that no official information had leaked from behind the palace walls. But Buckingham underestimated one thing. Internal cracks were forming, and it was from within that the leaks began. An anonymous source believed to be connected to the technical inspection team sent a detailed description of the evidence to an independent journalist. Just days later, phrases like Diana's letter, mysterious sapphire ring, and knife wrapped in black velvet began to sporadically appear on social media, then spread like wildfire. Accounts on X, Twitter, Reddit, and unofficial news sites successively published information that left the palace scrambling. The silence of the royal family, rather than quelling speculation, only deepened public suspicion. And when mainstream media was forced to step in to verify the rumors, the palace's wall of secrecy began to show irreparable cracks. Some secret had slipped beyond control, and from that point, Buckingham Palace was forced to confront a frightening possibility. This crisis could no longer be extinguished with silence. As the Mill House incident simmered like a ticking time bomb, another factor further intensified the situation. King Charles III's health was visibly declining. Recent images showed him walking slowly, his face gaunt, and his hands frequently trembling, signs that could not be hidden, no matter how carefully edited. At public events, Charles spoke less and less, with many duties delegated to Prince William or other members of the royal family. Some palace sources reported he was undergoing regular hospital treatment, with certain days leaving him unable to get out of bed. The king's weakening is not just a medical concern. It raises a painful question about the monarchy's future. If Charles can no longer reign, who will truly hold influence during the transition? And at the very heart of that crossroads of power stands Camilla. For a long time, she has been seen as someone on the fringe of the throne. Although she officially holds the title of queen, Camilla has never received absolute public acceptance, partly due to the enormous shadow of Princess Diana, and partly due to the simmering discord within the royal family. And now, as King Charles becomes increasingly absent, Camilla is stepping into an unprecedented power vacuum, one where she must make decisions that could shape the entire Windsor dynasty. But every political calculation Camilla makes is blocked by an old obstacle that has never truly disappeared. Prince Harry. Since Harry and Meghan withdrew from royal duties and moved to the U.S., their relationship with Charles has become so cold it seems almost beyond repair. Worse still, there has always been a deep chasm between Camilla and Harry. In his memoir Spare, Harry openly criticized Camilla as someone who manipulates the press, describing her as a dangerous figure, willing to sacrifice others to polish her own image. Those accusations were never officially refuted, but now they suddenly carry weight as the Ray Milhouse scandal erupts. The public, already skeptical of Camilla, now has more reason to ask, if the discovered items truly relate to Diana, what was Camilla's role? And was Harry, forever haunted by his mother's death, right in warning of a darkness within the royal household? Camilla's current position is both fragile and conflicted. On one hand, she is the person closest to the king, holding powerful internal connections within the palace, gradually building the image of a model queen. On the other, she is at the center of a rapidly expanding trust crisis. If Charles can no longer govern, Camilla would be the only one left to stabilize this situation. But with a past that has never been forgiven, does she have the credibility or even the support to uphold the throne until William officially ascends? If there is a strategy for the future, Camilla has likely planned it long ago, but this scandal is a variable she cannot control. As Charles weakens day by day and Harry remains uncharacteristically silent, Camilla is playing a game of life and death, and that game, very possibly, will not end in victory. As King Charles's health continued to decline, a sensitive and calculated phase began quietly unfolding in the corridors of power within the British royal family. Queen Camilla, who had gradually moved from the position of a third person to become the official wife, has now implemented a new strategy for the future. This time not only to protect her own standing, but also to pave the way for a new force, her son, Tom Parker Bowles. Internal sources indicate that Camilla skillfully used Charles's frailty as leverage to propose reasonable adjustments to the royal will. Accordingly, she aimed not only to ensure broader asset transfer to herself, but also sought for Tom Parker Bowles, who has no royal blood, to receive a substantial inheritance. This move immediately sent shockwaves through the royal family. Despite being an outsider by bloodline, Tom Parker Bowles has been appearing with increasing frequency at ceremonial and political events. He holds no official position in the court yet, is placed in a prominent position beside Camilla at many grand ceremonies. Meanwhile, true-blooded royals like Princess Anne or the Duke of Edinburgh seem to have been pushed out of the spotlight. Clearly, Camilla is constructing her own power circle, with Tom as a key node. Royal advisors, especially those once loyal to Princess Diana, have not concealed their concerns. Amending the will, particularly in favor of someone not of the Windsor bloodline, would shock not only the royal family, but the public as well. The British public, which already holds a polarized view of Camilla, would be unlikely to easily accept her introducing her son into the center of the royal inheritance, something even Diana, a beloved princess and mother of two princes, never pursued. The situation grew even more delicate when Charles's own private lawyers began to be replaced by figures loyal to Camilla. Secret meetings held at Clarence House and Ray Milhouse, under the guise of health checkups or personal consultations, in reality became venues where she lobbied, persuaded, and exerted pressure to secure terms favorable to herself. The ultimate goal was not merely assets, but also control over public narrative after Charles's death. The irony is sharp. While biological children like William and Harry once endured scrutiny and pressure from the institution, Tom, a non-royal partial, is steadily advancing into the heart of power via an unexpected path. The trust Charles placed in Camilla. Yet, will Camilla's strategy succeed fully? Or will it become the spark that ignites a new succession crisis? That question hangs in the air across the palace's ancient stone walls, where a silent but no less brutal battle is underway. It's not hard to understand why Camilla, after decades of living under the shadow of hatred and ridicule, is now doing everything she can to ensure her assets are placed in an absolutely safe zone. As King Charles weakens by the day, as power gradually slips from his hands and the generational transition approaches, Camilla understands that the only thing that can secure her position in the royal game is wealth, a foundation for financial security and a lever to maintain soft political influence in the years to come. She has taken quiet yet no less resolute steps to consolidate her standing, not only for herself but also for Tom Parker Bowles, her son from a previous marriage. Tom does not carry royal blood, but he has increasingly appeared at high-level events, as if being prepared to become part of the new structure Camilla is constructing. Increasing Tom's share of the inheritance is akin to placing a chess piece with direct blood ties to her on the royal power board, even if by a side route. However, this strategy is not without risk. The public has repeatedly questioned Camilla's legitimacy, especially after Diana's death. Any move perceived as personal scheming, especially involving wealth or titles, could trigger a latent wave of outrage that has long simmered beneath the surface of British society. The fact that Tom, someone completely outside the royal lineage, appears too frequently beside Camilla and Charles has caused discomfort within the royal family. William, heir to the throne, is said to be less than pleased by this. Meanwhile, Harry, though he has stepped away from the kingdom, could become an unexpected catalyst if he publicly speaks out against any changes to the will he deems unfair. Camilla is playing a high-stakes game. She knows that when Charles is gone, the castle will no longer be hers. And at this moment, every line in the will could determine whether she departs as an outsider or remains a subtle yet undeniable force. Though Camilla has ascended to the pinnacle of power with the title of queen, the throne she sits on is not cast in solid gold, but pieced together from fragile shards of controversy, public endurance, and the reluctant tolerance of the royal family. If the day comes when Charles dies or formally abdicates, Camilla's future will no longer be secured by an official title, but entirely dependent on the will and decisions of the successor, Prince William. And this is where Camilla's power game becomes dangerous, because William, more than anyone, bears the deepest scars from his parents' broken marriage. He is not only a living witness of Princess Diana's pain, but also the child who once saw his mother cry because of the very woman now sitting on England's throne. Though William has never publicly expressed hatred toward Camilla, the emotional distance between them has never been bridged. The distant glances, brief encounters, and Camilla's notable absence from intimate family activities speak volumes. When William becomes king, he will have full authority to restructure the royal apparatus. This includes determining Camilla's role. Will she retain the honorary title of queen consort or be demoted to merely dowager queen, a widow queen with no political role? Will she be allowed to stay at Clarence House or be relocated to a remote estate like Sandringham or Highgrove, far from the public eye? And most importantly, will she still appear at international events as a royal representative? All of that no longer depends on Charles's love, but rests entirely in William's hands, the man who will inherit the crown with a past torn by Camilla's very choices. The most painful scenario for her isn't losing a title, but being pushed out of the center of power, gradually fading from media coverage, and becoming an unspoken shadow, a queen without a throne. In a system where public trust is the foundation of every title, Camilla will have to face a harsh truth. Though she may be the wife of a king to William and to an entire generation raised with Diana, she will never be the mother of the nation. And her future, no matter how meticulously planned, will always stand on thin ice, where a single cold decision from the successor could shatter everything without warning. In the uncertain future painted for Camilla under William's reign, there is one factor she cannot ignore: The radiant and magnetic presence of Catherine, the Princess of Wales. If Camilla spent decades struggling to enter the royal inner circle and assert herself on the public stage, Kate did it almost effortlessly and naturally. With her polished image, spotless private life, and powerful capacity to inspire, Kate is not only beloved by the public, but also a symbol of stability for a monarchy in need of restored trust. Camilla is fully aware of this. She sees in Kate a rival who doesn't need to strike to overshadow her. While Camilla was once viewed as the interloper in Diana's famed love story, Kate is admired as a symbol of steadfastness, devotion, and elegance. Public sentiment does not merely support Kate, they expect from her. And that makes Camilla's position more fragile than ever, especially as William, the son who witnessed his mother suffer over that old love triangle, prepares to ascend the throne. The relationship between William and Camilla has always been complicated. Though outwardly maintaining minimal respect, numerous royal insiders reveal that William has never truly forgiven Camilla. He may accept her for his father's sake, but has never regarded her as genuine kin. And when power falls into his hands, the question arises, will William maintain Camilla's role as queen consort or quietly diminish her influence? In that context, Kate becomes a central figure in the new dynasty. Her image not only reflects continuity from Diana's legacy, but also represents a young, modern royal generation untainted by the scandals Camilla carries. If Kate and William coordinate public roles for royal members, it's entirely possible Camilla will be gradually sidelined, no longer a familiar face at major ceremonies or events. The rivalry between these two women, one a symbol of resurgence after scandal, the other of a fresh future, will not erupt in public confrontation. It simmers through public perceptions, media narratives, and strategic decisions from Buckingham Palace. In that game, Camilla is increasingly at a disadvantage. Camilla Rosemary Shand, born into an old aristocratic family, was once a faint presence at carriage rides and elite circles in British high society. But few would have believed that the woman once seen as the interloper in a royal marriage would one day become the queen consort of the United Kingdom. Her relationship with Prince Charles, beginning in the early 1970s, was once only whispered about at noble clubs. But when recordings of their intimate conversations were leaked in 1993, everything spiraled beyond control. The British public was outraged. People blamed Charles for betraying Diana, beloved and youthful, and Camilla became a symbol of deceit and betrayal in the eyes of many. She was labeled with venomous nicknames, scrutinized relentlessly by the press, and avoided appearing publicly alongside Charles for years. To many British citizens, Camilla was simply the woman who stole the happiness of a national icon, Princess Diana. But time, coupled with a consistent royal communication strategy, gradually changed everything. Camilla never tried to be a second Diana. Instead, she chose humility, quietly supporting Charles, and focusing on low-controversy charitable work. She avoided flash photography, refused glamorous image building, and embodied the role of a steadfast companion during Charles's most criticized periods. That patience was finally rewarded in 2022, when in accordance with Queen Elizabeth II's wishes, Camilla was granted the title of Queen Consort upon Charles's accession. There is still considerable controversy, but there is no denying that she has journeyed far, from a reviled figure to the woman standing firmly beside a monarch. A dark journey, full of hardships, yet proof of silent, enduring power. Power that Camilla never truly relinquished. No one can deny, to stand firm on the throne, prestigious yet fraught with prejudice, Camilla endured a journey fraught with obstacles. From a woman reviled by an entire country and branded the third party, she overcame suspicion and public storms, emerging as an important figure next to King Charles III. Her resilience did not come through loud speeches or media stunts. It came from persistent silence, decades of refusing to respond to scrutiny, and the ability to survive in a palace filled with prejudice, a place where Princess Diana's shadow never truly faded. Camilla did not win by changing the public's heart overnight. She accepted time as her only weapon, and time indeed helped her accomplish what few believed possible. From a figure of scandal, she gradually built the image of a soft, approachable, and somewhat harmless queen. Today, although she does not hold a high-profile role like Princess Kate, Camilla still has a certain influence in public affairs. She sponsors many charitable organizations dealing with domestic violence, literacy, and women's health. Camilla regularly appears with a serene smile and gentle demeanor, offering comfort to those who want to believe that the monarchy can still change. However, though recognized as queen consort, her actual influence within the royal family remains contentious, because in the eyes of the public she may have found her place. But in the hearts of the heirs like William or Kate, does that position really exist? And that is the question we, the ones who follow every move of the British monarchy, cannot stop asking. Will her resilience keep Camilla standing in a future teetering with instability? If you find this journey worth following, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Because real stories never truly end, especially when the name Camilla still appears in the line of succession.